Hello and good evening, watching L24 Midnight News coming to you live from Algiers, and to the headlines. After the devastating earthquake that struck Turkey and Syria on Monday, Algeria announced a $45 million financial aid to the two countries. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has declared a state of emergency with immediate effect to deal with the country's severe electricity crisis. With 2 years left on his 12-year sentence, a Palestinian prisoner who was rushed to hospital after falling into a coma on Thursday night has died in Zionist custody. In Europe, Russia unleashed a new wave of missile strikes on energy infrastructure across Ukraine on Friday, causing emergency power outages for millions of people and prompting new calls by Kiev for Western arms. Hello again and welcome. I'm your host Abdurrahim Kashur, and those were today's top stories. First, from Algeria, French spies are no longer hiding their game. They are openly and overtly exposing their intentions. They are about to achieve their objective of reaching the point of no return in Algerian-French relations.
A woman exfiltrated to France, who is neither a journalist nor an activist, was invited 48 hours after her exfiltration to speak on French public TV channels. This move is yet an evidence that the French secret services have mobilized all their spies for an objective that is now crystal clear. Those people should know that if France considers reproducing in 2023 a scenario like the Bay of Pigs, it is completely wrong. Everyone knows that the French General Directorate of External Security has a plan which aims to undermine the Algerian-French relations. This plan is executed by spies and certain officials, as well as some French Algerian advisors who do not dissimulate their love and their devotion for the Makhzen regime. It is a pity that everything that was undertaken by President Abdelmadjid Tebboune and his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron to open a new page between the two countries is falling apart, and that the break does not seem to be far away.
The Director General of the Algerian Agency for Investment Promotion, Omar Rukash, revealed that more than 970 new investment projects have been registered during the past 3 months due to the advantages brought by the new investment law.
The new investment law that removes the obligation to present a positive foreign exchange balance and authorizes the free transfer out of Algeria granted a lot of advantages and protection to foreign and local investors. Its outcomes began to show with the beginning of 2023, as more than 970 projects were registered in only 3 months, including 11 direct foreign projects from various countries in different sectors.
Dans l'espace de 2 mois, pratiquement. 3 mois.
3 mois. Within a period of 3 months, we have registered more than 970 projects. It is the inception of an investment with investors making the registration decision. The decisions granted advantage can even start the implementation of their projects immediately.
Regarding foreign investment, Omar Rukash revealed that the AIPA registered 35 projects during the 3 months period, and 45 others awaiting a final registration decision.
We have registered 35 projects. Among the projects, we have 11 foreign direct investments and also 15 partnership investment projects of several nationalities.
Thanks to the new law provisions, the foreign economic interest vis-à-vis the Algerian market suggests a strong comeback of classic partners beside the new ones.
The figures also reassure that there was less of the interest as well as less economic operators' vision. So it is a confidence that it is settling in the investment environment and also impacting the foreigners.
The new Algerian investment regime is set to bring in more foreign and domestic investments to boost Algerian production, as well as promoting the country's exports outside the hydrocarbon sector.
The head of the Libyan National Unity Government, Abdulhamid Dbeiba, reiterated Thursday that his government is open to an initiative to boost trust in securing elections to curb any attempts to plunge the country into a new transitional phase. Mohammed Katul.
Abdulhamid Dbeiba said that his government is open to any initiative to boost confidence in the holding of elections and avoid further transitional phases in the country, stressing that his government had fulfilled all its commitments towards holding elections, stating the work done by several government institutions over the last period.
We are open to any initiative or any suggestion to boost trust in securing elections and block the way in front of anyone who will use this pretext and plunge the country into new transitional phases.
Dbeiba reiterated that his country has no choice but to hold elections, which, as he put it, is hampered by the lack of a fair law to allow for their organization.
We have no other choice than holding elections. What hinders the elections is the lack of a fair regulatory law based on a consensual constitutional basis, which is fair for all.
The head of the Libyan National Unity Government also stressed in the same occasion his support for the efforts of the UN envoy to Libya, Abdullah Batili, and the positive pressure he is exerting on all parties to agree on the legal basis for organizing the elections.
We strongly support the efforts of the Special Representative of the Secretary General for Libya, Abdullah Batili, which aim to commit to the roadmap which puts an end to transitional periods and pushes all parties for issuing constitutional basis for elections.
Meanwhile, the president of the Libyan Presidential Council, Mohammed al-Manfi, held a meeting with a number of political parties to support the National Reconciliation Project, which the council adopted to bail the country out of the political deadlock and reach peace and stability through free and fair elections.
Still in the African continent, the heads of diplomacy of three West African countries, namely Mali, Guinea and Burkina Faso, met on Thursday in Ouagadougou, where they issued a joint statement calling on the Economic Community of West African States and the African Union to lift their suspensions and reinstate their membership. This meeting came soon after Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov visited West Africa earlier in the week to pledge support to the region.
I have come here in the name of His Excellency Colonel Assimi Goïta, President of the Transition and Malian Head of State, to express the full and complete solidarity of Mali with Burkina Faso and with the Burkinabe people who are going through a difficult time, and to be able to give them the assurance that we are on the same boat.
Still in the African continent, a local gold miners association confirmed that 10 people were killed in the collapse of a makeshift gold mine near the town of Hound in West Burkina Faso. This is just one of many incidents in the country where gold has become the main export and informal mining that is widespread, leading to frequent collapses. The region has also been overwhelmed by a terrorist insurgency and deadly attacks on gold mine workers. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has declared a state of emergency with immediate effect to deal with the country's severe electricity crisis, including prolonged daily power blackouts. The declaration of state of disaster or emergency comes as a rolling power cuts of up to 8 hours per day are hitting homes, factories and businesses across the nation of 60 million.
The crisis has progressively evolved to affect every part of society. We must act to lessen the impact of the crisis on farmers, on small businesses, on our water infrastructure, on our transport network, and a number of other areas and facilities that support our people's lives.
And now let's open the file of the earthquake in Syria and Turkey. Starting from Algeria, where the government has announced a $45 million financial aid to Turkey and Syria after the devastating earthquake that struck the two countries on Monday, killing more than 23,000 people. $30 million will be offered to the Republic of Turkey and $15 million to the Syrian Arab Republic. This comes within the framework of the assistance that Algeria is providing to these two brotherly countries and peoples in solidarity with them following the violent earthquake. Still in Algeria, the head of the Algerian Red Crescent, Ibtisam Hamlawi, said that the volume of aid amounted to 200 tons of various foodstuff and medical materials which were transferred to the affected people in Syria and Turkey. Hamlawi added that the Crescent will expand the volume of aid to include oxygen concentrators and is preparing to send an additional 80 tons to Syria in the next few days.
We are talking about more than 100 tons for our Syrian brothers and about 100 tons for our Turkish brothers. We are providing necessities in collaboration with the Syrian authorities and Red Crescent. Besides, additional 80 to 90 tons is being prepared to be sent to Syrians. We provided them with baby milk beside diapers for children and adults. The temperature there is minus 10 degrees Celsius. So we are sending mattresses, blankets, clothes, tents and oxygen concentrators beside medicines. All that we have sent was in collaboration with Syrian authorities and Red Crescent.
In an interview with the Algerian national TV station, or other channel, the Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said that relations between Syria and Algeria goes deep in history. Al-Assad thanked as well Algeria for the help it provided to his country during these hard times.
We belong to the generation that was taught through the Syrian educational system at schools that Algeria is the country of the 1 million martyrs. That's what we know about Algeria. We remember the Syrian women who sold their jewelry and other stuffs to send aid to Algeria. Algeria has a place in the heart of our generation and in the heart of the coming generations too. The relationship between Syria and Algeria is based upon Syria's position in favor of Algeria during its revolution and the long-standing position of Algeria towards Arab issues and the Syrian issue in particular. I'm not referring here to the earthquake, but to all other political issues. This hasn't changed, and it's natural to see that this relation between Syria and Algeria appears in a bright and a beautiful way during this war. We didn't feel that those people came from a far country. We felt that the Algerians came from the heart of Syria to help Syrians. This is the true feeling that we have for every Algerian citizen.
In Turkey, the Algerian rescue teams are still working day and night to provide assistance in the city heavily affected by the devastating earthquake that killed more than 23,000 people. Nabil Khazini.
It is the 6th day and the Algerian rescue teams are still trying to find a breath and a beating heart from under the debris. But the tragic end is always close, and avoiding it is what these men are aiming for.
Our very first role is to rescue the victim on site and to provide them with the first aid, and then we transform it into the medical center in an ambulance.
They have come from 1,000 miles away, bringing their equipment and their long expertise in such disasters. Since they landed here in Turkey, they succeeded to save 12 lives. This achievement made the Algerian rescue teams on site of the devastating earthquake on top of the list of rescuers from around the world. For long hours non-stop, in complete harmony, they dig in search for a victim. It's a mission where every move and a decision is worth a life.
We start with the recognition process. We have two phases. The phase of identifying the victim's location in order to determine the means that will be needed, including canine and other technological equipment. This phase will be followed by the intervention of the team in charge of under-rubble response to get the victims out of the rubbles.
That help is really needed here. Under the rebels, many are believed to be still alive. waiting for a hand to pick them up from darkness and from the edge of death to life.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said on Friday that words are not enough to describe his country's pain days after the catastrophic earthquake devastated Turkey and neighboring Syria. Erdogan renewed a promise to rebuild the area within a year and also said the government would subsidize rents for 1 year for people unwilling to stay in tents.
In the provinces of Sanliurfa and Kilis, where the destruction was relatively constrained, the activities of search and rescue are over and we have started working on debris removal. We are continuing with determination the search and rescue operations in other provinces so that no one will be left beneath the buildings.
The United States has issued 6-month sanctions exemptions for all transactions related to providing disaster relief to Syria after earthquake killed more than 23,000 people in the conflict-torn country. Deputy Secretary of the Treasury Wally Adimo said that the U.S. Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control issued the exemption on Thursday, stressing that U.S. sanctions on Syria will not stand in the way of life-saving efforts for the Syrian people. Away from Turkey and Syria earthquake and still in the Middle East, Palestinian prisoner held for over 12 years in the Zionist occupation jail died on Thursday after being rushed to hospital after falling into a coma. 48 years old Ahmed Abu Ali was announced dead on Friday morning. He was suffering from several diseases including chronic heart problems and debates due to bad detention conditions and health care, according to Palestinian Prisoners Society. In Europe, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said several Russian missiles had flown over Moldova and NATO member Romania on Friday, and that they were a challenge to the military alliance and a collective security. Hussein Berkan.
In a new escalation of violence in Ukraine, Russian missiles have reportedly struck energy infrastructure across the country, causing widespread power outages and emergency shutdowns. According to Ukraine's Air Force, 71 cruise missiles were fired, with 61 of them being shut down. The city of Zaporizhzhia in the southeast was hit with 17 missiles in just an hour, marking the heaviest attack since the start of the Russia operation in Ukraine. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky spoke out after the attack, stating that several of the missiles passed over Moldova and NATO member Romania. He called the missiles a challenge to NATO and collective security, and called for them to be stopped. He added that the missiles were proof that defending Ukraine is defending all of Europe and the whole world.
That proves once again that terror does not and will not understand any boundaries. That defending Ukraine is defending all of Europe and the whole world, every country that wants to live. Today's missiles are a challenge to NATO and collective security. This is terror that can and must be stopped.
Despite calls from Kiev for Western military support, French President Emmanuel Macron announced that under no circumstances will fighter jets be supplied to Kiev government in the near future. During the recent EU summit, which focused on the visit of Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But it seems that the international community is still divided on how to handle the ongoing conflict in Ukraine.
Russia will cut oil production by 500,000 barrels per day, or around 5% output in March, Deputy Prime Minister Alexander Novak said on Friday, after the West imposed price caps on Russian oil and oil products. The Kremlin said on Friday that Russia had held talks with some members of the OPEC Plus producers group regarding its decision to cut the output. Ukraine's President Zelensky called for Russia to be banned from participating in the 2024 Paris Olympics during an online meeting of the 35 countries, including the US, Germany, and Australia. The Ukrainian leader stated that Russia's presence at the Games would represent a manifestation of violence and lawlessness. Polish Minister for Sport and Tourism proposed creating a team of refugees, allowing Russians and Belarusian athletes who are dissidents against the regimes to compete as a compromise to avoid accusations of discrimination.
I want to ask you if representatives of a terrorist state appear at international sports competitions or the Olympic Games, will it matter if they are there without their national symbols? The mere presence of representatives of the terrorist state is a manifestation of violence and lawlessness. Dear friends, really, I know you really do not want to allow the Olympic principles to be distorted.
We as Poles proposed it, which was received relatively favorably, and I think that it may be a compromise proposal with the IOC in order to avoid accusations that we are guided by nationality, that there is any kind of discrimination based on the passport we have or the country from which someone comes. To create a team of refugees, not a neutral team, but a team of refugees, in which people of Russian and Belarusian nationality who are dissident against the regimes of Putin and Lukashenko, respectively, could take part.
Moldova's President Maya Sandu nominated Doreen Ricin, her defense advisor, as the new prime minister of the country following the resignation of the previous government. President Sandu stated that she had held consultations with parliamentary factions and received support for Ricin's nomination from the Party of Action and Solidarity and Social Democratic Party team.
I held consultations with parliamentary fractions. Following the discussions, I signed a decree nominating Doreen Ricin as a candidate for the position of the Prime Minister of the Republic of Moldova. Within the framework of consultations with the fraction of the Party of Action and Solidarity, the Social Democratic Party team declared its support for Mr. Doreen Ricin.
In America, the FBI searched former Vice President Mike Pence's Indiana home Friday as part of a classified records probe, according to two people familiar with the search. The people were not authorized to discuss the law enforcement's action and spoke to the Associated Press on condition of secrecy. The search followed the discovery of documents with classified marking by lawyers last month. Chinese President Xi Jinping met with Prime Minister of Kingdom of Cambodia on Friday in Beijing. According to President Xi, China, taking Cambodia as a priority in its neighborhood diplomacy, has always planned and advanced bilateral cooperation in various fields from a holistic and a strategic perspective. And now for more international news, let's follow this roundup by Zara Frajani.
In the USA, the Federal Aviation Administration said on Friday it closed some airspace in northern Alaska to support Department of Defense activities. This came after the White House said the US military shot down an object off northeast Alaska that could have posed a reasonable threat to civilian aircraft. To Chile, where international aid arrived from different parts of Latin America, the United States and Spain, a day after Chilean President Gabriel Boric requested aid from multiple countries to combat wildfires that have razed over 360 hectares. To neighboring Peru, where thousands of demonstrators demanding the president's resignation marched in protest in the Peruvian capital Lima on Friday, where some clashes were reported. The Peruvian police fired tear gas to disperse protesters after trying to reach the Congress. And finally, to some sports news, Irishman Craig Breen took the lead on his return to the World Rally Championship in Sweden with 2.6 seconds, while Ott Tanak was close behind in second place. Breen's teammate Isapi Kalapi filled out the third place by 11.2 seconds behind.
And with the championship of rally, we come to an end of our news bulletin. Thank you ever so much for being with us. For more updates, you can follow our social media platform. And all I can say for now, good night.